My name's Erica. I'm 33, and I thought I'd finally moved on from the man who broke me, until he decided to make me part of his fairy tale announcement. It was a quiet Sunday morning. I was sipping coffee, scrolling through Instagram, when my phone started blowing up with notifications. Girl, have you seen this? Why would he tag you? My heart sank before I even opened the app. And there it was, my ex, Daniel, smiling like a movie star beside a woman in a white dress, holding her hand out to show off a diamond ring. The caption read, "She said yes, to forever." And right there at the bottom of the post, my name, tagged. I froze. It felt like a punch to the chest. Not because I still loved him, that died a long time ago, but because I knew exactly why he'd done it. It wasn't an accident. It was a message. A performance. Daniel wanted everyone to see that he'd won, that I was just a chapter he'd closed. But what he didn't know was that I'd kept everything. Every secret, every photo, every late-night confession he begged me never to share. The lies he told his family. The messages to women while we were still together. The reason his last job ended suddenly. For years I stayed quiet, out of respect, out of fear, out of exhaustion. But seeing my name tagged under his perfect little engagement post, that was the moment something inside me flipped. Because if he wanted to make me part of his story again, then I'd make sure the world saw my version of it too. And I had the screenshots to prove every word. Before Daniel, I used to think I understood what family meant. I grew up in a small Ohio town, the oldest of 3 girls. My parents have been married for 40 years, the kind of quiet couple that still holds hands when they think no one's watching. My dad runs a local hardware store, my mom teaches 3rd grade, and every Sunday, we still have dinner together like clockwork. So when I first brought Daniel home, my family saw the version of him he wanted them to see. The polite, ambitious young man who offered to help my dad fix the porch and charmed my mom with stories about his humble childhood. My sisters adored him instantly, especially Lena, the middle one, who always fell for anyone with a smile and a plan. But behind closed doors, Daniel was different. He wasn't cruel at first, just calculating. He liked to make small jokes about my career, about how my little marketing job wasn't really serious work. He'd make comments about what I wore when we visited his parents, or how clingy my family seemed. His family, the Reynolds, were the opposite of mine. Cold, competitive, wealthy. His mother, Victoria, was the type of woman who made you feel judged just by the way she looked at your shoes. His father, Harold, was quiet but sharp, like he was always collecting information. They didn't talk to each other. They evaluated each other. Whenever we had dinners with them, Daniel would switch personalities completely. Suddenly, I wasn't his girlfriend. I was an accessory. I laughed when they laughed, stayed quiet when they made jokes at my expense. Afterward, he'd tell me, "You just have to understand how my family works. It's all appearances." I should have seen the warning signs then. My family told me he seemed too polished, too careful. But I ignored it. I wanted to believe love could smooth over sharp edges. Now, years later, staring at that engagement post, I finally understood what they'd all seen long before I did. Daniel didn't love people. He performed them, and I had been his favorite audience. The beginning of the end came quietly, the way most betrayals do. It wasn't a fight or some dramatic breakup. It was a slow unraveling of moments that at first didn't seem like anything at all. I remember the night it started. Daniel had just landed a new job at a marketing firm downtown, the kind of place where everyone wore expensive smiles and had connections. He came home later and later, always smelling like that same cologne he never wore for me. When I asked about it, he'd laugh. "Erica, don't start. You know how networking works. Clients love a good dinner." I wanted to believe him. But then there were the receipts. Hotel charges in his credit card statements, texts that popped up on his phone when he'd leave it face down, and the sudden shift in his tone, the way he called me sweetheart, only when he needed something. The first real crack came during a company party. I spent the whole week helping him pick his outfit, pressing his shirt, even writing the little speech he had to give. When I arrived, I expected him to introduce me proudly. I was his girlfriend, after all. But instead, he smiled that familiar fake smile and said, "This is Erica. She helps me with my projects sometimes." Projects. I felt my face burn, but I swallowed it. Later that night, I overheard him whispering to a coworker, a woman with perfect hair and an expensive laugh. He said, "Yeah, it's complicated. I'm trying to end things cleanly." That was the first time I realized I wasn't in a relationship anymore. I was in a waiting room, waiting for him to decide when to discard me. The breakup came a month later. No tears, no apologies. Just a short message. "I think we've grown apart. I need to focus on my future." His future turned out to be that same coworker, Samantha, the woman from the party. I spent months trying to rebuild myself. Therapy, yoga, weekends with my sisters. I thought I'd finally put him behind me. Until that morning, years later, when his engagement post appeared. When I saw Samantha's hand wearing the same ring he once told me he'd designed just for me. It wasn't heartbreak that hit me this time. It was fury, cold, controlled, and sharp. Because Daniel hadn't just moved on. He'd stolen the life he once promised me. And now he was flaunting it, tagging me, daring me to stay silent. At first, I didn't respond. I told myself to be the bigger person, to ignore him, to let his new perfect life rot quietly on its own. But the internet doesn't let you forget. My DMs flooded with old friends, coworkers, even mutual acquaintances. "He really tagged you? That's cruel. Did you see the caption? He's definitely doing it on purpose. Erica, are you okay?" The more I stared at that post, the more I saw it for what it really was. A performance. Every photo staged like an advertisement. The sunset proposal, the champagne, the caption dripping with self-congratulation. But there was something else, too. A thread of arrogance, almost like he wanted me to react. And that's when I decided I would. Not with rage. Not with screaming or comments. But with truth, the kind of truth that speaks quietly and cuts deeply. I started small. I reposted his engagement photo to my story with a simple caption. Funny how some promises come full circle. No tags. No names. But everyone knew. The next morning, my story had over 2,000 views. People began messaging, asking what I meant. Some of his friends unfollowed me. Others didn't. They watched, waiting. So I posted again. This time, an old photo of us, smiling in front of a cabin, with his arm around me and a caption that read, "The same trip he said he was at a conference." That one hit harder. I didn't have to say anything else. The comments started rolling in, whispers spreading like wildfire. Then I shared one screenshot, nothing incriminating, just a cropped message where he'd said, "She'll never find out." I promise, no names, no details, just that. Within hours, people pieced it together. His engagement post was still up, but now it had a flood of curious comments beneath it. "This you? Wow, guess some people really do recycle their lies." "Tagging your ex? Bold move." By sunset, his perfect engagement wasn't looking so perfect anymore. And the best part? I hadn't said a single hateful word. I was calm, composed, cold. For the first time, I was the one in control of the narrative, but I wasn't finished, not even close. Because Daniel's biggest secret, the one that could end his shiny little life completely, was still waiting in my phone. And if he wanted to play games in public, then I'd make sure the whole world saw how well he played in private. By the third day, my quiet little post had turned into a storm. I didn't plan for it to go viral, but once people smell deceit, they spread it faster than fire. Daniel's engagement post had thousands of comments now, half congratulating, half questioning. I could tell from the pattern the comments would disappear, then reappear, that he was deleting and blocking as fast as he could. But it didn't matter. The screenshots lived everywhere. Samantha, his fiancée, had stayed silent at first. Her profile was full of filtered selfies and engagement excitement, but then one morning I noticed her latest photo had vanished. Her followers dropped. Then she went private. That was when I knew she'd seen everything. Part of me wanted to reach out, to warn her, to say, "You deserve better than what he's about to put you through." But another part of me, the one still carrying every insult and betrayal, told me she'd already made her choice. She'd known I existed. She just didn't care until it hurt her. Still, I didn't post anything new for a few days. I wanted him to sweat, to wonder what I still had. And he did. Because suddenly he reached out. It was a text, short, arrogant. "This is getting out of hand, Erica. Take it down." You're embarrassing yourself. I laughed out loud, the kind of laugh that comes from exhaustion and clarity. Oh, Daniel, I typed back. You haven't seen embarrassing yet. Then I posted something I'd kept for years, a voice memo. Just 15 seconds of Daniel whispering, "Don't tell anyone. My parents can't know about the money." No explanation. Just that audio, set over a muted background with the caption, "Some secrets don't stay buried." The reaction was immediate. The comments exploded. What money? He stole something? Wait, is this about the Reynolds account? By evening, the story had jumped platforms. Twitter, TikTok, Reddit threads picking apart timelines, speculating about the engagement scandal. People dug through old posts, work photos, even LinkedIn updates. And then the text messages started again. Not from Daniel this time, from his mother, Victoria. "Erica, whatever you think you're doing, stop now. You're ruining lives." I stared at that message for a long time before replying. You should have thought about that before you raised a liar. I didn't know it yet, but that post and that text would be the crack that brought the entire Reynolds family down. Because what Daniel had hidden wasn't just cheating, it was fraud, and his engagement wasn't love, it was a cover. The night everything came crashing down started with a single post, not from me, but from someone inside his company. A screenshot appeared on Twitter, a leaked email thread between Daniel and a client. The subject line read, "Reimbursement transfer." The messages showed him redirecting company funds, small amounts at first, then larger into a personal account under a fake name. Within hours, that thread had thousands of retweets, and in every single comment, people were tagging me. Is this the guy from your stories? So this is what the voice memo meant. She warned everyone. By morning, Daniel's company had deleted his profile from their website. The engagement post vanished too. But it was too late. Screenshots were everywhere. And then my phone rang. "Erica, it's Victoria Reynolds." Her voice was brittle, trembling. "You've done enough damage. My son could lose everything." I took a deep breath. "He already did, Victoria. He lost his integrity years ago. You just refused to see it." She went quiet, then whispered, "He says you set him up. That you leaked the emails?" I almost laughed. "I didn't have to. He set himself up the moment he tagged me." That same afternoon, Samantha showed up at my apartment. No warning, no message, just her standing at my door with swollen eyes and a trembling hand clutching her phone. "I need to know if it's true," she said, voice breaking. "Did he really?" I nodded before she could finish. Every word. Every photo, every transfer. I kept the proof because I knew one day he'd try to rewrite the story. She sank onto my couch, sobbing quietly. I handed her a glass of water. For the first time, I didn't feel anger, just a strange, hollow pity. Then her phone buzzed. A news notification? Daniel Reynolds, under investigation for corporate fraud and misappropriation of funds. The headline felt like closure in print. Later that night, I made one final post. Simple, clean, and calm. A black background with white text. Truth doesn't need to scream. It just waits to be heard. Below it, I attached the time-stamped files. The voice notes, the messages, the receipts, everything. The internet did the rest. By midnight, Daniel's name was trending. His family's reputation, the perfect Reynolds image, disintegrated under the weight of their own lies. Victoria shut down her social accounts. The company released a statement about cooperation with authorities. And me? I sat in the quiet glow of my screen, watching the story unfold. My story. Not as a victim, not as the woman he once tried to humiliate, but as someone who finally made the truth impossible to bury. He tagged me to make me part of his victory. Instead, I became the ending of his downfall. When the storm finally broke, the silence felt almost unreal. After weeks of chaos, mentions, and messages flooding my inbox, my phone went quiet, just the soft hum of notifications tapering off into nothing. Daniel was gone. His accounts deleted, his company distancing itself, his perfect engagement erased like it never happened. The news confirmed he'd resigned before formal charges were filed. But everyone knew the truth. He didn't leave. He was forced out. For days, people I hadn't spoken to in years reached out. Some called me brave. Others whispered that I'd gone too far. My mother, gentle as ever, didn't say much, just hugged me one evening and murmured, "Sometimes truth feels cruel before it feels clean." She was right, because even though Daniel deserved every consequence, I couldn't ignore the ache that came after, that strange mix of relief and grief. Revenge doesn't heal you. It just stops the bleeding long enough to see how deep the wound was. Samantha eventually sent me a message. Just one line. "Thank you for showing me who he really was." No blame, no bitterness, just understanding. The kind that comes when two women realize they were both living in the same illusion. As for the Reynolds family, they vanished from the social world entirely. The mansion went up for sale. The gossip sites moved on to newer scandals. And me? I found peace in the quiet moments again. I deleted half my old posts, archived the evidence, and went back to my life, the one I'd built before Daniel rewrote it for me. One evening, while walking home from work, I passed a jewelry store window and caught a glimpse of a diamond ring, so much like the one he'd once promised me. For a second, my chest tightened. But then, unexpectedly, I smiled. Because I wasn't the woman waiting to be chosen anymore. I was the woman who'd chosen herself, even when it meant burning down the fantasy. In the end, the truth didn't just ruin him, it freed me. It's strange how silence can feel louder than any argument. For years, I thought justice meant shouting, proving, forcing people to see what they refused to believe. But when it finally happened, when Daniel's mask cracked and the world saw what I had always known, I didn't feel victorious. I just felt quiet. The truth has a weight to it. It doesn't explode. It settles. It sits in the air until the people who ran from it have no choice but to breathe it in. Sometimes I still wonder if I went too far. If I should have let it go, moved on quietly, left his name buried under time. But then I remember the night he tagged me, the smirk in that photo, the arrogance of someone who thought I'd stay invisible while he rewrote our story. He wanted control. I gave him consequences. And that's the difference between revenge and truth. Revenge is about anger. Truth is about release. In the months that followed, I learned how to live without looking over my shoulder. I took a trip alone to the coast, where the air smelled like salt and forgiveness. I started writing again, not for him, not about him, but for me, about strength, about silence, about the strange kind of peace that only comes after you stop needing closure from the person who broke you. If I've learned anything, it's this. You can't heal by hiding. And you can't move on by pretending the damage didn't happen. Sometimes you have to open the wound to let the poison out. Daniel taught me that truth doesn't destroy people, lies do. And in the end, I didn't ruin his life. He handed me the match. I just stopped being afraid to strike it.